Okay, I'm Naila. We're here today at African Liberation Day 2017 here in Birmingham. And I'm here with Elder Bini Butwaka and Elder Miami. And we're going to share some thoughts with you about African Liberation Day, African Liberation Day, get my words out straight. This year's theme, Pan-Africanism, the true path to liberation. So what does that really mean for us as African people in the UK? I'll start with Elder Bini under clear instruction.
Yeah, well, Pan-Africanism, the true path to liberation, is very significant to us as African people today, because we strayed off the path, and some of us think that we have liberated Africa, and there's no prejudice in Africa, because we got rid of, the so-called apartheid system in South Africa. Then we have coconut president named Obama. So a lot of people don't understand that we're not liberated yet, and the liberation struggle is ongoing. So it's significant. For 42 years we've been doing Africa Liberation Day PACM, and it's been ups and downs. We have had the largest one with 30,000 in 1977, Andrew Park. We used to have Africa Liberation Day 3 days. We used to march, and then we'd have the 2 day in there. But then, the element has been beating us a bit. Like as you see today, it's torrential rain, and that's have effect. And now I'm saying that to the listeners, this program is that they must, even if it's thunder and lightning, you have to come out. That's why Pan-Africanism, that's right. So that's why you should come out and support Africa Liberation Day. Because if you have to go to a 9 to 5 job, you will get out and do it because you know it's your personal. So they must treat the liberation of Africa as your personal thing. So you just go out and do it. Yeah.
But Elder Miami, what are we talking about? African Liberation Day. What exactly is it? What are we doing here?
I mean, for me, what's important is that as African people, we acknowledge and recognize that we are the most oppressed people wherever we are in the world. And so Pan-Africanism for me is about us recognizing that, and that we need to do something about our situation. But there's a personal responsibility, because quite often, as a community and as a people, we'll talk about what the problem is. The problem with Black people, the problem with African people. And for me, Pan-Africanism it's about taking ownership and understanding your own personal role that you have to play on this journey, because it's not a destination, it's a journey we're on in terms of reaffirming and taking our rightful place in the world, on the world stage. So African Liberation Day, it really is about us coming together and coming here. This is the largest African-only gathering in the UK, where you come into an environment where there's just African people. We're inspired. Somebody once said, we may not like each other, but we're all we've got. And we need to understand that Pan-Africanism is about those personal things. It's about how we treat each other. Because if we can't get things right on that kind of, level, then we can't get things right on a bigger level. And sometimes we think, the solution is outside of ourselves. It's everybody else. And for me, my Pan-Africanism, it's about how I live my life. It's about how I engage with my community. It's about what I do for those in my community who are less able to do it at that level. And then on a community level, and then hopefully, on a national and international level. So it's important that we come together. It's a way of re-energizing ourselves, recharging our batteries, and these 2 days that's not going to get us liberation, but it's about us coming and reaffirming and also hopefully motivating people to go back into their homes, into their communities, and begin to do something rather than just sitting back and thinking, waiting really for the very same oppressor to come and liberate us, because quite often that's what we're waiting for, whether it's through religion or politics. You know, we just seem to think somebody else is going to do it for us. And we have to recognize that we have to do for self.
Okay, so I'm clear why we need to come together, why we're having a 2-day gathering of African people. But tell me a little bit more detail about what actually happens on the 2 days. What's been happening over the last 2 days, and obviously is going to continue to happen today, right up until about 10 o'clock this evening.
And beyond.
Okay.
Right. The last 2 days, this year, as you know, and for our viewers, we have a number of international speakers. One of the main one, Anthony Browder, a brother from the PAC in South Africa. We have a number of other speakers, people from our community, brilliant historian, which, you know, quite often a lot of the historians that we have, that we bring to our platform, tend to be from, say, North America, and we have somebody like Robin Walker, you know, right here in our midst in the UK, who has done some sterling work, has a lot of knowledge. So it's about providing a platform also for our performers, and there's a marketplace for our brothers and sisters who are promoting certain cultural things. So it's an opportunity for us to circulate you know, the African pound, because that is so important. Sometimes we talk about, you know, we have to do for self, and yet we don't spend our money within our community. And so this is an opportunity to support those brothers and sisters who do that. So overall, it's a time for us to come together and like I say, just reaffirm.
Okay.
And
all right. So we're having opportunity to meet and learn more about our African culture and history. And as you say, I think what's quite important at Africa Liberation Day is that we're not only supporting our speakers, experts, if you will, internationally, but also people from the UK. But also, I think you're right that that presence of a marketplace gives us an opportunity to practice the Ujamaa, that cooperative economics. And quite often people will question, well, where can I support black business? I find it difficult. I don't know where they are. Guaranteed every year, Africa Liberation Day is a key opportunity to do that. And there's a wealth of entrepreneurs and businesses in that market, providing food, health and well-being products, jewelry, clothing, books, more books. And again, we are losing our black bookshops. So absolutely, it's a real good time to support those institutions. Elder Beanie, anything you want to add about the importance of Africa Liberation Day, what's been happening here in Birmingham this year?
Yeah, what Miami said about, recharging the battery is very important, because what I noticed, communities, the bit of community that we have left, is that we are losing it. So African liberation is significant in making sure you recharge the kind of energy and bring that awareness. And to me, African Liberation Day should be for the African people. It's like a spiritual journey as well as a physical journey, that they come out and actually get recharged up back, so that they can all go back in their homes and change the condition in which you live in. African Liberation Day is not for you to just come, listen to the lecture and so on. You need to go back home and train your children to be African, not to be European, not to be Arabs. And that's why there's a confusion right now in the community. Some people are running with Islam and running with Christianity, and it's nothing to do with them. So it's African Liberation reaffirm to them that there is a culture and there is a spirituality and not a religion. So I think African Liberation Day is that to me, and I think we've been doing it from 75 till now, and I think we've impacted on a lot of people's life. So the PSM have done a lot of work. Sometimes we're criticized we can't organize and that. But let whoever criticize try it, put on a program like this and see how hard it is. Because I know I've been tired this time because I have other issues that I have to deal with at the same time. But you can't give up. You just gotta continue going. So sometimes, somebody talking to me from Osiris said, and I blink, fall asleep because it's just a tiredness. But we need more soldiers, on the ground. Young women soldiers, men and women soldiers. The younger generation need to take on the task of helping to build a mass movement and stop following this Eurocentric game that the Europeans play on us and stop killing each other. Wow. Africa Liberation Day is for us to learn us to love ourselves and value ourselves. If you don't value yourself, you do what you do now: stabbing, shooting, just weed smoking, cocaine taking, all kind of drugs have been taken now. So we need this Africa Liberation Day even more than ever to do the work to pull back our people from where they're going at the moment. They're off track.
So Elder Miami and I think Elder Beanie as well, you've both talked about a responsibility outside of this two-day event that we have as individuals to take any learning that we get from here to take it back into our family, our homes. I think one of the things I wanted to pull out as well is that Africa Liberation Day, or African liberation, it's about the whole African family. So we have people here who've come here as families with their children. There are things that the children will also learn, as well as being speakers, there's edutainment, and just being in this environment. I've certainly found as a mother of two children that it's an environment that is very supportive of African family, of our children, encouraging them to be confident and strong in their African identity, which it's a very unique experience. We don't find that everywhere. They don't get it in their school environment. So I take your point about how difficult it is to organize. There's a small number of people actually involved in the organizing, and I certainly echo your call that we do need more brothers and sisters to actually step forward, get involved in the organizing, get involved in attending, and get involved in actually doing something with what we've learned during the 2 days. Elder Miami, you mentioned as well you mentioned a couple of the speakers that were here. Are you able to talk a little bit about a couple of the topics that have been talked about?
Yeah, I think what's important is that we leave a legacy. And for me, African Liberation Day is about a legacy, and it's about building institution. And as Brother Batwaka said, the event's been going for 42 years, and we've had it's had its highs and its lows, but that's no mean achievement, because many other events have started, they've stopped, they haven't, and however challenging and difficult it's been for us, even when there's just been a few of us on the ground, you know what I mean, we've said it must continue because it's important in terms of legacy and nation building and building institutions. We're the only people that don't have institutions that's ours, that our young people. Our young people need to know that what are the significant dates in the African calendar. And as well as saying, well, Kwanzaa is one, Africa Liberation Day should be one.
We do have an institution, and what you're saying is we must continue to make
it.
We have it, and you've worked hard.
Right, and so it's important that I think the point, and I probably didn't articulate it very well, is that our young people and that our community sees the importance that it is an institution. It's not just these crazy African people every year then go down there and disorganize themselves, because we want it to go well. You don't put the energy and the effort and the commitment. The other important thing that our community needs to understand is this is totally funded by the community and by us. You know what I mean? We receive and we take no funding from anybody in the 42 years. Because life could have been a lot easier financially for us, but we're not prepared to compromise. And so every year, in our own little way, however we have to do it, and even if at the end of it, as members of PACM, we have to put in our pockets and use whatever means we have to ensure that this event stays true to the legacy of all the great giants on whose shoulders we stand, who've made it possible for us to be here. And so that's very, very important. And that's why it's important that the community comes out and supports. It's about the legacy.
Absolutely. So No, I think you've ended on a very important point. The legacy must continue, and I think we're grateful. I think I'd like to extend thanks on behalf of the wider community for the work that you've done over the past 42 years as long-standing members of the Pan-African Congress movement. So as we bring this interview to a close, we will continue with our African Liberation Day events today. There are some other speakers speaking today. I know Patricia Daly's actually speaking on stage now. And as you've mentioned, Anthony Tony Browder will be speaking later, and Robin Walker's here with us. So action-packed agenda for the evening, a family event, African-focused event focused on Pan-Africanism, the true path.